when you got into this project, you discovered that the initial story that you thought was actually shifting. When did you realize it was shifting, and how did this project take on a whole new approach?
Thank you. I know the exact answer to that, not because I knew the question beforehand. It was the moment our crew, we were in Laura's house, and we were talking to her about her experience being a caretaker and going through the process of death, and the courage that Laura had admitting what she'd gone through. I knew at that moment, I said, okay, we're shifting our narrative a little bit here. And it was in that moment, I had an idea kind of beforehand, but as a storyteller, I don't like to get too much information up front. I like to kind of be spontaneous, but it was in that moment where we're sitting in her living room and she's talking about how she just didn't feel like a mother. And she could be a caregiver, but she just didn't feel like a mother like she should. When she had the courage to say that, I knew I had a job, and I was commissioned to do a job, and that was to get that message out. And it was at that point.
That's great. Dr. Sargent, next question's for you. I've known you for over 10 years, and I have photographed, I used to have a photography studio, my wife and I did here in Chattanooga on Main Street. I photographed many of your craniofacial patients. There's an art and a science to what you do. And you navigate that fine line between creative genius and methodical engineer. Speak to that process, if you would.
I would agree that this is an artistic, is the mic on? All right. This is really, this field of surgery is an artistic blend of technical ability and artistry in terms of being able to analyze a patient's problems, technically design a procedure and be able to execute it, but having the eye to see what the problems are and being able to visually see the changes that you want to make and then able to transform that into an operation. I think it's a gift, and I've trained a lot of surgeons over my time as chairman of the department. I've trained probably 65 or so plastic surgeons, and it's hard. It's not something you can teach, unfortunately. You can teach them the technical execution of the procedure, but to be able to blend the artistry with the technical aspect is really something that they have to have inside them. And for me, it's just always been natural. So I think it's a gift that I have, and I feel like I'm obligated to do the best I can with it, and hopefully my patients feel that I have.
That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So Laura, your story is raw and real, and I sat there and cried, and I've seen this before. Why were you willing to share it, and what was that process like?
I don't think, is it Preston?
Preston?
So I think the first part of that question was just
Why were you willing?
Yeah. So to keep it a little bit short to spare time, but it was really a God thing, because as we got a date for mid-phase and we knew that it was approaching, I just felt in my spirit, I was like, I'm supposed to document this for other families, because as I was looking for, how to prepare as a parent, there's a lot of before and after pictures. I mean, parents in the craniofacial community are very gracious to share any information they have. So I felt fairly prepared, but I just thought, this is an opportunity for me to maybe document, but I'm not tech savvy at all, like literally don't know how to turn my iPhone off. But I had a video camera in my my Amazon cart, and I remember exactly where I was in my car when Brenda Sargent called me, and she was like, hey, I have a question for you, and you don't have to answer, you know, just pray about it, talk to Heath, your husband. But Dr. Sargent has been approached about, you know, explaining the documentary, and
I think Tyler, he's ready to go to sleep.
and I was just like, either shut my mouth or I was like, I wanted to say things that I wish I would have